Arrived here 4 months ago, barely speaking English. He'd fled the city of Homs.
We have war, big war, and you don't feel safe. Maybe you can die anytime.
This was Mohammed's first glimpse of America. He took these pictures as he flew into the country. He was joined by his family in July. The same month, he began work at a car factory. Mohammed believes the US should be welcoming more people like him.
We are not here because we are hungry or we need something. We are here because we have war. We can work, we can, like anyone. We can do everything like any American.
We're just going to talk about the general legal structure of work today.
A church organisation, Kentucky Refugee Ministries, helped Mohammed when he arrived. It provides support to find jobs and housing, getting its funding from the US government. It's resettled 6 Syrian families this year, but believes America can do more.
If we support democracy, if we support human rights, if we're opposed to repressive authoritarian governments, we cannot abandon victims of those governments who are truly left in desperate circumstances.
While many say the US should be welcoming thousands more Syrian refugees, others disagree. Earlier this year, a group of Republicans in Congress raised concerns to the White House, arguing that refugee resettlement schemes don't vet new arrivals properly and could become a backdoor for jihadists. It's a sentiment some here in Kentucky agree with.
I have real concerns, which probably everybody else does, about being able to screen them to make sure that we aren't letting terrorists into our country.
We got a lot of refugees, but I don't know about how they're going to live here. Jobs or anything, We're all out of jobs.
I think we do need to keep helping our refugees. Everybody here, we came from another country to begin with anyway, so we should be willing to help out our neighbors even if they're overseas.
Mohammed's grateful for the help he's had here.
I want to study. I want to study and go to university and make some business for me. And I will do that.
Rajini Vaidyanathan, BBC News, Louisville.
The Palestinian flag is to be raised outside the UN headquarters in New York. It follows a vote in the United Nations General Assembly which overwhelmingly approved the move. Under the resolution, the Vatican was also granted permission to fly its flag. More from Nick Bryant.
It's a colourful tableau of flags from around the world, but countries have to be a member state of the United Nations to fly them at the headquarters in New York. The Palestinian Authority has only non-member observer status, so it's been denied that privilege, but that's about to change.
A recorded vote has been requested.
Because by a large majority, the UN General Assembly has voted to change the rules so that the Palestinians can raise their flag outside United Nations buildings. The United States voted against. 45 countries, including Britain, abstained. But 119 cast their votes in favour, much to the anger of Israel.
The Palestinians show no regard for the values of this institution, and they cynically manipulate the UN to score political points. Time and again, the Palestinians use and abuse the UN. The sad part is that you in this chamber, allow them to get away with it.
It is a historic day. It's a wonderful day.
The Palestinians are describing this as another step in solidifying the pillars of statehood, even if it is largely symbolic.
It is symbolic, but yet it is also giving a glimpse of hope for our people in the very frustrating and depressing situation in the Middle East, that the international community is still in favor of justice for the Palestinian people. It is thinking of them, and it is not abandoning them, but keeping the hope alive. And it is another effort to defend the two-state solution.
The United Nations will now have to erect another pole to accommodate the Palestinian flag, and it should be in place in time for the arrival later this month of the President of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, who will conduct a ceremonial flag raising. Nick Bryant, BBC News, at the United Nations in New York.
Singaporeans are voting in a snap general election, the first since the death of long-term leader Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of the People's Action Party and father of the current Prime Minister. It's also the country's first election in which all constituencies are being contested. We've got some live pictures actually from one of the counts they're taking part. The polls opened just over an hour ago, and in Singapore it is compulsory to vote as well, so naturally going to be a busy day. Well, I'm joined now from the BBC Shiranjit Lail in Singapore. Shiranjit, you're at another polling station there. This is supposed to be the most competitive election since independence in 1965.
Absolutely it is, and as you said, there are 89 constituencies. That's all of them being contested for the first time since independence in 1965. I've been at this polling station for about an hour now. People are trickling in, casting their votes. A record 2.5 million Singaporeans are expected to be voting today, and as you said, it is compulsory. You have to vote. And the reason why it's really the first time in 50 years that all constituencies are being contested is because of the dominance of the ruling party, the People's Action Party. They've won every single election since 1965, since independence, and they're expected to do so again. So it's a fairly predictable outcome. What's interesting is that in the last elections in 2011, they actually saw their worst result in terms of the popular vote. They had just over 60%, which of course is great in most countries, but here it was considered their lowest. In fact, it was their lowest since independence, and of course the reason being there was a lot of frustration amongst Singaporeans over the influx of immigrants. It's a nation of 5.5 million people, about 1 million of them really arriving in the last decade or so. There's been pressures on infrastructure, transportation breakdowns, housing shortages, and also concerns over social welfare. There's a huge gap between rich and poor here, amongst the highest in the developed world. So all of these are issues that Singaporeans will be taking with them when they go to the polls today.
Shiranjit Lail in Singapore, thank you. Now, it's a discovery which scientists say will change our ideas about how the very first humans evolved. In the dark chamber of a South African cave, 15 primitive human skeletons have been found, with both human and ape-like characteristics. So, could this provide a link between modern human beings and our closest extinct relatives? Palab Ghosh reports.
Deep inside this cave, scientists have made a discovery beyond their wildest dreams. Guided by torches, only these female scientists are small enough to squeeze through the narrow gaps in the rock, crawling through 200 metres of tunnel. The scientist in charge watches in amazement from the surface.
That's it.
Eventually, they see hundreds of fragments of bones, skulls, hands and teeth. It's the biggest find of ancient human remains ever found in Africa.
Everywhere that my headlamp shone, I could see that there was bone on the floor. I mean, not full bone, but fragments of material, but basically everywhere I looked, and it was an incredible thing to see, yeah.
They've called it Naledi. It walked on 2 legs, but with a tiny gorilla-sized brain. And this picture from the National Geographic magazine shows what it looked like, possibly a bridge between ape-like creatures and early humans.
It would have stood about 5 feet tall, a small brain about the size of a large orange, but a very human-like character to the overall plan of the skull. A hand that is almost human to the palm, but then curved extremely out at the distal ends, and then long legs that culminate in an incredibly human-like foot.
It seems that the Naledi people would carry their dead deep into this cave system. If that is the case, it would be the first evidence of ritual behaviour in a species, possibly millions of years earlier than anyone had ever thought. What other discoveries lie beneath these African plains? Scientists believe that there are many more species of human ancestors yet to be discovered. Palab Ghosh, BBC News, Johannesburg.
Stay with us for the headlines. This is BBC News.
Well, many places had a lovely day on Thursday, and Friday's shaping up pretty well for most of us as well. But the weather is on the change, just in time for the weekend. And you can see on the satellite picture where that change is going to come from. A huge bank of cloud is approaching from the west, and that will bring rain initially to parts of Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But ahead of that, a quiet start to the day. Temperatures haven't fallen too low. A bit of mistiness around, a few fog patches, but they should disperse fairly readily. And then plenty of sunshine to come through the morning. This is 8 o'clock. That brisk wind will be in evidence again, quite a blustery one, particularly across the more northern parts of the UK. And there will be a fair bit of mist and low cloud to get rid of first thing. Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, some early brightness, but that won't last all day, as we'll see in a moment, because that weather front will start to head in. Initially, the rain will be quite patchy. It'll extend into parts of Wales and southwest England, but the really heavy stuff will come in later on in the day, a wet end to the day for parts of Northern Ireland. Ahead of that, another fine day, as I mentioned, despite that gusty wind. The wind will keep exposed coast, for example, eastern Scotland, quite cool. There's a chance of a shower here, actually, but most other places pretty warm in that sunshine, again up into the low 20s. For the one day at Headingley, this might be a little bit pessimistic. I think there will be some sunshine, but the main thing is it will be dry and it'll feel pleasant out of the breeze. Now, as we go into the night, so it turns properly wet across Northern Ireland, that's of some concern because we're going to see a lot of rain here. Warnings have been issued. That area of low pressure really is only going to kind of pivot in this sort of direction, which does mean parts of Northern Ireland we see quite a lot of rain for quite a long period of time. It does all head northwards with further rain to come later on in the weekend. So although it won't be a washout, there'll be some wet weather, some sunshine too, and for all of us, it'll be breezy. This is the picture on Saturday then. You can see that weather front pivoting northwards, heading its way through northern England and into Scotland. Behind that, though, the southern half of the UK, seeing a lot of fine weather actually through Saturday once the early rain has moved through. Still quite pleasant in the sunshine, up to 20 degrees, much cooler in the rain, though, further north. Sunday's a little bit of a hard one to describe. It does look as if the more southern parts of the UK will see most of the showers, particularly down across the southwest. As further north, it'll be a better day with some sunshine. So, for the Great North Run, plenty of dry weather, I think. There might be some brighter glimpses, a fair bit of cloud, and not too warm, which would be good news, of course, for the runners. On into Monday, well, every picture tells a story. It's very unsettled through the early part of next week. More wind and rain for all.
Andy Burnham, Yvette Cooper, Liz Kendall or Jeremy Corbyn? After a fierce campaign, who will Labour choose as leader?
Labour leadership, the result. Saturday morning at 11 on the BBC News Channel.
Make It Digital Season, the story of remarkable pioneers, unbridled creativity and inescapable controversy.
His contribution to the war was as great as Alan Turing's. Why have we never heard of him?
She published the first computer program in 1843.
Everything in moderation. You talk about this particular game is very addictive, just to mean that it's a good game.
I love algorithms, tapping into the mathematical order that underpins how the universe works.
We celebrate the UK's pivotal role in forging our digital future. Our new season, Make It Digital, continues with Horizon, a video games really that bad, Wednesday at 8 on BBC Two.
The latest headlines from BBC News, I'm Gavin Gray. The BBC has new evidence of more than 60 chemical attacks being carried out in Syria by the Assad regime and by the Islamist terror group IS. These new attacks have happened after the UN ordered the destruction of chemical weapons there 2 years ago. The Security Council has now authorised a new investigative panel to look at the matter. The United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly approved a motion to allow the Palestinian flag to fly in front of UN buildings. 119 countries voted in favour, while Israel and the United States, along with 6 other countries, voted against the proposal. And widespread flooding and landslides in Japan are continuing, with more bad weather to come. Dozens of people are missing and 1 person has died. The city of Joso, north of the capital Tokyo, was hit by a wall of water after a nearby river burst its banks, forcing helicopters to rescue. Well, those are the latest headlines on BBC News, but coming up next, it's Thursday in Parliament.
Hello and welcome to Thursday in Parliament. I'll look at the best of the day in the Commons and the Lords. On this programme, the system for detaining immigrants comes in for strong criticism in the Commons.
It is ineffective, and as we see too often, it is unjust.
Meanwhile, the government's austerity programme is questioned in the House of Lords.